Peace and blessings. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I wasn't planning to make a video, which I usually don't plan to make videos no more. They just come, or someone requested me, someone named Taryn Stanton. I did a post about Narsimhadev and Sekhmet, and Taryn Stanton asked me to do a video on the topic. Now, I'm to a point where I think that I'll be repeating a lot of material on my video, but anyway, I'm going to touch this topic because it was requested by a devotee, and I want you to know something. I want to thank all my viewers out there. I want to thank the people who enjoy my videos, but more important, I want to thank the people who are attracted to Krishna. The culmination of all of these different rituals and austerities you've done in past lives, all of these religious practices you've done have led you to the platform of bhakti yoga or devotional service. So when you graduate from rituals and dogma and penances and austerity and beliefs and religion, you come to the platform of devotional service, which is the independent and concrete form of yoga. So with that said, real quick, thank you, Terrence Stanton, for your blessing. I told him straight. I was like, he was like, you should make a video about this subject. I was like, listen, I can't do nothing without the blessing of the devotees. I realized it was all of the good prayers of the devotees that got me where I was at today. Even to my grandmother when I was born, who used to always pray for me. She was a devotee under the Jehovah's Witness belief system. But bhakti, devotional service, is independent of your belief system. If you are devoted to the Supreme Lord, it don't care if you believe that God is a banana. You have to be devoted to Mr. Banana. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, moving on. So, we got this subject that has to be dealt with. Lineages. First of all, if you know of Krishna and you read about Krishna, you'll know that he's from Chandra Vamsa, which is he's from the lineage of the moon or the lunar dynasty. Likewise, Lord Rama is from Surya Vamsa, or the lineage of the solar people. Let's let some light in here. This is, right now, the sun is about to set in New York City. This hour is called from about an hour and a half before sunset to an hour before sunset to a half an hour before sunset, and then I think a little time after sunset. It's called Shiva Pradosham. So apparently during these muhurtas, but there's something called sandhyas, I believe that's the word, and sandhyas are smaller delineations of muhurta. A muhurta is a time about an hour and a half. That's a muhurta. And then the sandhyas is like 45 minutes or 42 minutes. I don't know that Vedic math. It's so intricate. But right now, I'll show you the sun real quick. Anyway, since the sun is about to set, this is called Shiva Pradosham. And this hour is, like, if you remember Lord Shiva during this time, or if you chant any of his names, like Om Namaha Shivaya, your sins are all destroyed. Your karma is destroyed. I'm trying to tell y'all that the universe itself works in orchestration for your best benefit if you are a devotee of the Supreme Lord, or if you are a devotee of his devotees. The universe itself, the elements. What happens is very simple. Daivi Prakriti, the goddess of material nature. Her job is to keep us trapped in the material world until we're sufficiently purified to go back home. But once you decide to enter into the realm of bhakti yoga, Krishna tells her to ease up off you a little. Maya, ease up off of him. He's trying to get home. Don't make it so easy for him that he think it's a cakewalk, but still ease up off of him. And the more he surrenders to me, you also ease up off of him. What's the word? Proportionately. So this is Shiva Pradosham, and if you chant Shiva's names, or if you chant the holy names of Krishna during these hours, if you chant, that's the good thing. See, when you deal with bhakti yoga, there's no time for it. There's no rules and like, okay, everything has a process, but dealing with directional devotional service to the Supreme Lord, there's really no hard and fast rules. You could chant Hare Krishna any time of the day and get your sins destroyed. But with Shiva and with the lesser beings called demigods, then you have to follow rules and regulations to get the proper results, because it's karma. It's karmic. What I do for you comes back to me. What you do to me goes back to you. That's karma. That's karmic activity. That's not bhakti. Bhakti is free of karma, but however, there are results associated with bhakti. So Shiva Pradosham, shout out to Lord Shiva. Everybody, don't eat no food around sunset. Ujval told me don't eat food at sunset because that's when the ghosts walk around the planet. Those are the retinue of Lord Shiva. And spirits can walk up in your body around sunset if you eat. Just like you're not supposed to get somebody pregnant at sunset, because that's how demonic beings incarnate into this universe, through women who get pregnant at sunset. The potential is there. So to the main topic of this video, the lineage of Lord Ram and the connection to the Ethiopian civilizations. Lord Ram performed his pastimes in India circa 1.8 million years ago. He had sons because he is the ideal incarnation of God to teach a man how to be a divine man and to be a divine ruler or divine king. So as such, Lord Ram had children. Moving on to the end of his pastimes, his children spread out in the world. So if you read a book called Nubia, I don't know the full title is Nubia, but I don't know the artist's name, the author's name. I got the book, but it's in storage right now. But listen, there's a book called Nubia that explains. That's why I really got to thank Taki Grant, because when I came out the shelter and stuff, he called me on to help him with UNRS, which was the Upper Nile Research Society. Prior to that, a few months before that, I had started reading Krishna conscious literature. So I was learning about the spiritual, but I wasn't learning enough about my material manifestation here. And that's where Taki came in with this, we're going to bring the people to Nubia. We're going to teach them about Egypt. We're going to form a concert. And so I had to start reading about Egypt and Nubia. And it was amazing that I kept seeing parallels between the civilizations of ancient Nubia and Egypt and ancient India. I kept seeing the parallels. And of course, we know there was a European philosopher, I believe his name was Socrates. He traveled around the black world at the time. And when he came back, they rushed around him. They was like, yo, tell us about these two great black civilizations. These two civilizations you went to, they're so great. They're so advanced. Tell us about them. He was like, of the black civilizations, there are two Ethiopias. He said there's Ethiopia and there's East Ethiopia. So he was talking about India and he was talking about Africa, specifically the Nile Valley civilizations of Africa. Listen here, people. If you read that book, Nubia, it will confirm what geneticists have been saying for the last 20, 30, 40, or 50 years. Everybody's saying there was a migration out of Africa, but there was also a migration back into Africa. Srila Prabhupada said that Parashurama, which is an incarnation of Krishna, he killed off like 21 dynasties, your kids and your kids for 21 generations. He was killing them off. And the ones who he didn't kill off, they escaped. Some of them went up into Europe. Some of them went into Asia Minor, and some of them went into Africa. So apparently, according to Srila Prabhupada, that dynastic era was formed by descendants of those people who migrated back into Africa from being chased away by Parashurama. So they were royalty. The Egyptians were royalty. So they probably had that black and Indian blood, which is why they had that kind of peculiar Ethiopian kind of look, because they were two different black seeds, but it was still the black seed. Okay, good. We have evidence in the Nubia book that there were different migrations. They looked into the graves. There's A culture, B culture, C culture. And in the legends and lore of the people themselves, they'll tell you that all of these different cultures in different times came to visit Ethiopia and settled there. So we have evidence that so-called outsiders came back to resettle in Africa. There's evidence in the graves. There's evidence on the walls. I could go. Listen. There's something called a kustul incense burner that will show you that even in Nubia, in primordial times before Kemetic dynasty of Egypt, in Nubia, people were still wearing the crown of rulership that became popular in Egypt hundreds, if not thousands of years later. So we have a contiguous civilization. Now, What am I getting at? Sekhmet. Sekhmet is a female lion-headed deity. She's from the Solar Dynasty according to the Egyptians. She was dispatched to the planet Earth to destroy the enemies of Ra. And one thing about her story that stands out to me was the fact that she drank tens of thousands of millions of gallons of the blood of the enemies of Ra, to the point where they had to trick her. They had to get like hundreds of millions of barrels of wine and mix it in with the blood till it flowed like a river. And once she drank all of that and got drunk, and then she woke up from her drunkenness, she felt ashamed for what she had did. She's a solar deity, lion-headed deity. Then we see something interesting in the Srimad Bhagavatam about Lord Narsimhadev. Once again, Apedemak. Apedemak is he who sees in all directions. Narsimhadev, according to the Narsimha Kavacha, or the shield of Narsimha, it says he sees in all directions. And when you go look at the ancient walls of Nubia, you will see Apedemak has his head headed in 4 directions, including up, because it represents he could see in all directions. Apedemak was a lion-headed deity from Nubia. So I found out that Krishna incarnates in all countries, in all nations at different times. The reason why the Vedas strictly, particularly deal with India is because, first of all, the Vedas were compiled by Vyasadeva approximately at the beginning of Kali Yuga, which was 3100 BCE. So this was the time people had become dumb, and by that time, the history was really centered and focused on India at that time in the world period. But yes, the records of Krishna's incarnations in different countries have existed from time immemorial, but they've been destroyed or usurped or changed, or they're sitting in the Vatican Library. 8 miles of our books. 8 miles of our books. I could barely read English, but they got 8 miles of my books over there buried in the darn Vatican. So this crystal incense burner shows you that, first of all, a royalty in Nubia is buried at a place called El Kuru. And where was the battle located of the Mahabharat? Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra. And the royal dynasty of that time was the Kurus and the Pandavas. How is there a royal cemetery in Nubia? Now, let's go back 1.8 million years ago. After Lord Rama finished his pastimes and his sons spread out in the world, there was one named Kush. Why is this name Kush spreading everywhere from India to Afghanistan to Iran, Indo-Kush, and all the way into Nubia, Kush? Because this one family. It's one family, man. It's all one family. So these people now, when you have King Selassie, they say that King Selassie had a statue of Lord Ram in his house and he used to worship it. And you say, well, that's heathenism, that's paganism. Well, remember now, the Israelites lived in the land of Canaan. They lived in the land of Canaan. They picked up a lot of, some people say the Israelites are Canaanites. They picked up a lot of the traditions from the Canaanites, including the worship of various deities and mortis. So for all of those people who believe that the Israelites were just this monotheistic religion, nah, homie. They had statues in their crib that they used to worship. They even worshiped the golden calf. And Moses chopped that worship down real quick because it was time for the male-dominated religions to come in. So it was no more need of the mother. So they killed the mother and started eating the mother instead of honoring the mother. And now we see where the world is at. You see how Trump treats Melania. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know Melania and I treat her better than Trump does. We see it. Come on, man. Let's not play no games. So males are dominating everything, and along with that comes testosterone, and it's a known fact that testosterone makes you a little stupid. Okay, moving on. So Lord Ram has a descendant called Haile Selassie. Just look up the descendancy. If you go into the first books of the Bible, Genesis, it has the names of Rama in there. It has the name of Lava in there. It has so many Vedic names right there in Genesis chapter 10. How so? If it wasn't one civilization and one people, the name would not have popped up. Rama's name is in the Bible, man. Y'all people got to stop ostracizing God's people, and y'all got to stop ostracizing the incarnations of God, because it's for the benefit of us. So here we go. King Selassie was connected to the ancient Kushites. All of those people, if you look at the Ethiopians, they look like Indians. They have like this look, like we're not Indians directly, but we could be related to them. If you look at the language, Gaaz and Amharic and all of these original scripts, it looks like Sanskrit. It looks like Devanagari. It's all connected. So you had Sekhmet. How is it that Sekhmet is a lion-headed deity from the Solar dynasty? And Narsimhadev is a lion-headed deity who drank the blood of 10 million soldiers. Like, y'all ain't gonna keep hitting me with these coincidences and tell me that it's a different system. And I don't care about, your personal Indian versus black beef and your black versus Indian beef and who's superior and who started it first. All I see is the essence. Because for me, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. For me, everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna. This here is personal. So I had an argument with a friend of mine, right? And she says to me, oh, you only talk about Krishna because that's all you got. And without Krishna, you're nothing. Whoo! Boy, that stung my ego so bad. I had to put her on timeout, man. Like, I don't want to talk to you for a minute. And, when I go to sleep, stuff comes to me. I woke up on my humble stuff like, yo, she was right. Without Krishna, I'm nothing. Because for all of the people who knew me before Krishna, I was a fun dude. I was a silly dude. I had fun. I was a cool dude. Everybody liked me. Most people liked me. I had fun. I did a lot of things. But that essence was lacking. That divine essence was missing. So no matter what I had to offer the world before Krishna consciousness, it would never be of lasting value. But now that I got Krishna consciousness, man, I got everything. So understand, yeah, I am nothing without Krishna. And, it was really a compliment when she was basically saying everything that comes out of your mouth is about Krishna. Yo, dogs, I can't help it. My life has been Krishnaized. I didn't know what I was asking for when I was working at Fairway Market. I started chanting while working in the coffee department and just chanting all day for 8 hours. My whole 8-hour shift. I'm like, I know I don't want them to see my mouth moving, but I got to chant this mantra because Prabhupada said if you chant Hare Krishna, your life will be Krishnaized. Well, do I know what Krishnaized mean? But anyway, my life was Krishnaized. Because for me, right? If you want to ask me what's my religion, I've abandoned religion. But if you want to ask me what's my practice, I do 4 things. Just like there's 4 regulative principles for those people who want to ascend to a higher level of life. And for me, like my 4, I don't call them regulative principles, but I call them my 4 principles. I do 4 things as much as possible. I chant Hare Krishna. I honor or I eat prasadam. I talk about Krishna and I hear about Krishna. There's a paradoxical loop because the more I talk about Krishna, the more I want to hear about Krishna. The more I hear about Krishna, the more I want to talk about Krishna. I can't help it and I'm not even trying to help it. So he's kind of dissolving my old heart and bringing a new heart in, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate homegirl for putting me in my place, for telling me I'm nothing without Krishna. Because she reminded me that, yes, however faulty I am an ambassador of the spiritual world. Well, if not in conduct, if not in name, then in speech and in the way I affect people through Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, the one who is everything to me. So yes, there's a connection between the ancient dynasties of Nubia and Egypt and those people over in India and these divine beings from the other planets and the other solar systems and the other universes. These divine beings have all come together to leave a divine legacy for the human race. It is called the Ramayana. It is called the Mahabharata. It's called the Vedas. Now remember, the Vedas are vast and very intellectual. So what we have now is the Vedanta Sutra. And we have the different scriptures that explain, like there's a 555 part explanation of the Vedas broken down into 4 chapters. I forgot the name of it. It slips me right now. But let's put it like this. There's sufficient information right now to help you to get self-realized. The more you learn about Krishna, the more self-realized you will become. The more divine you will become. The more light. And, not for vanity's sake, but I get a lot of compliments about my skin. I will say this. They say that those people who engage in Krishna consciousness have a certain glow because the energy is internal. We do a lot of internal energy exercises, and it manifests in the skin. It manifests outward, and there's a certain glow and an energy that the devotees have. And I don't want to be the only one to taste this. I want y'all to taste it too. This 20-minute video, I know I was rambling, but really I just want y'all to research the connections between Ram, Kush, Nubia, Egypt, Narsimhadev, Sekhmet. Sekhmet means Sekhem, which means power. And the word Shakti is a Sanskrit word. They both come from divine languages. Medunetta is a divine language as well as Devanagari. And Sanskrit says Shakti. One says Sekhem, one says Shakti. Man, it's the same system, just colored differently according to time, place, and circumstance. But do not neglect the Vedic teachings. Don't neglect the Bhagavad Gita. Don't neglect Krishna. Don't neglect your spiritual master. Give all honors to those who taught you things, even if you can no longer see eye to eye with them. Give them their honors because they're trying to help you get back to Krishna. So listen, if you have any questions or I didn't make anything clear, or you want me to touch on hone in on something that I mentioned, because really there was so much more I wanted to say, but crazy man caprice, you know how I go. So listen, chant Hare Krishna. We don't have much time left. The orange man is over there in Saudi Arabia with Melania Trump, and they ain't even cover their head to show respect. Who y'all think y'all are? The Obamas? Haribo.